La que hay, mi gente, ricotorodrpr. So go ahead and hit that subscribe if you hadn't already. Got to get up to 1,000. Just trying to get to 1,000. That's what seems legit to me. So thank you if you have. So today I'm gonna talk to you about two different gangster chicas, is what I call them. But gangster in a good way, no negative stuff. You know, just two from different time periods that I've had the opportunity to, I'll say, befriend and know a little bit, that just are unbelievably real in how they move and what they do in comparison to a lot of, what we're used to with, that come along with this territory. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoy. Irresistible, Sosua, irresistible. Yeah. We're talking about gangster chicas. Not in a bad way, in a good way. You know, a good way. They're just real and upfront about what they do. And there's no sugarcoating it with emotions or fake love that don't exist, or really no ulterior motives or side game. But they're really cool, good personalities. You know, just sometimes just unique individuals that are rare and hard to come by, especially in this game, this life that they lead. So we'll call the first one, because there's gonna be two. We'll call her Una. The second one is gonna be guest, Dos. So Una, it was someone that I met during my first trip to the Dominican Republic. Back in 2008, she was working at Blackbeard's. My friends that brought me down here for the first time, they were already familiar with her. You know, these two guys probably did just about anything imaginable that you could do to a woman. I'll leave it at that. But, I didn't, because of what I kind of knew or whatever, I don't know, I was just like going crazy and 4-day trip, and, I did not end up spending any time with her my first trip. Fast forward a couple of months later, 3 months later, I think, and I made it a point. She was number one on the hit list. So spent some time with her, got to know her a little bit. And my Spanish then was just sort of developing to what it is today. But she speaks a decent amount of English. So, that's how she connects well with people. So then throughout another trip or two, got to know her a little further. And it was sort of, texting a little bit back and forth from the States. Well, the following year, because the guys that brought me down, they were doing these annual trips. That's all they came, was once a year. So they were doing these annual trips. And so that year we decided we were going to spend a few days in Blackbeard's, a few days in Sosua. So we make the annual trip, and jokingly, when somebody was like, why don't you just invite her up to Sosua? And she was living in the capital, no longer working where we met her at that time. So I call her up and invite her up. And then, like right away, it's like she meets us. We're staying at New Garden. And, she's just, and they're pretty much like, I called her. I'm the one that kind of kept in touch with her. So she's now my responsibility is how they're looking at it. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So we have a little fun. Everybody has a little fun. And then we all go out that night. And regardless of what happened with my friends or whatever, it was decided that she's staying with me. And, I got no problem with that, because this is what I'm getting into. It's because she's just one of those girls that no matter what she does, who she does, or how she moves or whatever, you know exactly what you're getting every single time, and she's also just like, when I say she's gangster, it's like she can sit there. We were up in Classicos, and Classicos was popping then. So we're up in there, and she's like basically calling shots. She's like, stay away from that dude, stay away from that girl, that dude will cut you, that girl will steal everything, including the drawers that you came home with. She was spot on. Like, my boys befriended these I think Canadian gringos that were visiting, and the gringos were hanging out in Classico, and they were getting a little friendly with these Dominican guys, just dancing, partying, whatever. And and she's whispering in my ear like, this is gonna be a problem. Those goofy ass chicks, they don't know what they're getting involved in. They don't know how this works. And I honestly wasn't even that full aware of how this works at that time. I'm thinking this was before I had really heard of Sanky Panky. So they're partying or whatever. They had to make a real quick exit, like on some real slick stuff those girls did, because those dudes were heated when they saw they were getting left empty-handed. So anyways, like I say, she just sort of had an insight or whatever. So a year later, I'm turning 40, 2010. And just for some familiar company, I brought a friend down, a good coworker friend at the time that, down. It was his first trip, and, I called Ona to come spend my birthday with me. And, great time or whatever. Unfortunately, that was the last time I saw her, because she was the first person, and I just immediately replied no. But she was the first person to ask me for money when I was back in the States. And at that time, I was chopping it up with a lot of expats and a lot of other people, and I was going by they acted like, that's like the biggest simp move, just the biggest embarrassment to all, is to be that guy sending Western Union. And that's why I'm kind of a ball buster when it comes to that sort of thing, because those old heads, they get a bad name. They're not all perfect. They don't know anything. Their information's not always on point. But, but they have some of them have certain codes that they're really adamant about following. And to each his own, but I respect some of their codes, not all of them, because some of them, they're just faking it really well, and deep down they're simps too. So I just said no, and then never messaged her again. See, it was a matter of principle. So, we'll get into numero dos. Just a sec. I'll tell y'all about Gangsta Chica Dos in a minute. Last night was the first time, probably since like November. I can't even remember exactly, that I stepped in Omni, and that's just because I was in the area at Habali Bar, and a friend of mine, Gio, that I met through Cortez in Puerto Plata, he's been in Sosua now, or in the country, like 2 months. You know, doesn't speak the language. He's from Australia, lived in New York several years. But anyways, he had never, all this time, he had never been in Island Beach. So since we were close by, he was a little curious to check it out. And it's partially relevant to Dos. I'll tell you about in a second. Thank you for subscribing, my peoples. If you have not already done so, hit that subscribe, please. Hit some of those thumbs up, y'all. Show some love. So, Gangsta Chica numero dos. So, she and I met sort of an interesting way. So, my former number 2 chick had asked me a few times if I had any friends to set her amiga up with. So that's not really my style. I'm not in the business of that. You know, it's just most guys I know or try to associate with, you know, they know how to move, and they like the process of getting their own. And also, if something goes wrong, either the girl or the guy, they're unhappy with me. So I don't put myself in the middle of such situations. So, of course I said no. Well, then one day, the former number 2, for whatever reason, she seemed to be getting shook down, robbed, you know, this losing phones, whatever. And I know something was going on because I've seen 2 or 3 different phones, and always not great phones, not brand new or anything. So I don't, it's nothing too crazy. So anyways, one of those times that she was without a phone temporarily, she started texting me from her friend's phone. And so, like, you know, most people, I saved the number at some point, just so I would know who it is. So I saved the number. And it wasn't the number, by the way. I didn't use the number, you know, on the low or on the slide to meet the Amiga. But anyways, you know, at one point, you know, a friend of mine was kind of asking me to set him up. And I told her to send me another picture of her friend, and she did. And so, you know, a friend was a little bit on the fence, but I think agreed to meet her. And I asked a friend and a very well-known YouTuber and business person in Sosua. I showed him the picture because I know that he is familiar with her and the former number 2. And I asked him straight up, would you set her up with any of your friends? And he took one look and he just said, no. And so, thought about it. I said, well, you know what? You know, I'll leave it on my friend to decide if he wants to trust our judgment on this. So, you know, a few hours later, you know, I'm expecting number 2 to come and Dos to be here with her, and then I'm gonna call my boy to come make the introduction. So my former number 2 knocks at my door, and I'm like, where's your amiga? AKA Gangsta Chica Dose. And she said, oh, she's had another appointment or two. She's finishing up some business before she's coming or whatever. And right away, I'm like, shut that down. Send her home. You think I want to set her up with one of my friends, knowing what you just shared with me? We don't want to know, don't need to know these kind of things, in general, and at this stage, I know too much. So I have a little bit of a conscience in introducing her to a friend of mine. Well, fast forward a little time later, and I'm in Envie one night. This was probably, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, give or take. I'm really bad with the time with this whole pandemic thing. So, however many months back it was, I'm in Envie one night, and I get approached, and she introduces herself. Hi, I'm Gangsta Chica Dose. So, okay, encantado de conocerte. So, and then, so she knew me. She had, I guess, saw my picture or whatever, WhatsApp status or something. So, or the former number 2 had showed it. So, anyways, we just start talking a little bit. And I could tell right away that she was very professional in how she moved, which usually that is an indicator to me, I don't want anything to do with this type of woman. But I also realized there was something cool about her personality. And she speaks a little bit of English, but so we're just talking a little more, whatever. And I just verified that I had her number, and I did. So that was that. And then, like some weeks later, whatever, I ran into her again and hung out with her a little more, and I bounced with her. I brought her home. And you know what? Like, she rocked me. Like the bed had moved somehow from up against the wall to where it was blocking like the bathroom and the bedroom door. It just like furniture shifted. It's like all hell broke loose kind of experience. So I'm like, you know what? She's mad cool. And despite that she's about her money, she's about her business, as was Ona, but had that real cool kind of get to know her a little bit kind of personality about her, and to where you're not thinking about the next man or the last man, because regardless of what they do, they still like really put it on. And so actually, as I said before, last night I went to Envie for the first time in a really long time, and I ran into her, and when I saw her, I was busy for a minute just like chopping it up with a couple of people. And I just said to her, hold tight, just stay there. And normally, if I tell somebody that means they're coming with me. But in this case, I had no plan. I was just saying basically like, trust me, hold tight, you will be good either way. And so my point is, these two gangster chicas that I'm talking about, what sets them apart is they're the type that
you can handle your business. They could go around the block, handle business 7 more times, different ways, different guys. And you'll tell them after that 7th one, come join me for a drink. You know, let's order a pizza and drink a couple of beers. You know, and just chop it up. You know, and you don't find that many people that are like just that transparent and just so cool about it. Yeah, they're professionals, they're about their business, but every time you get like 100% of their A game, and just, you know, they're just so cool that, like I say, you don't care, because you know at the end of the day you're getting an incredible experience and time with them, to where, you know, you can just enjoy a little bit of time like decent human beings, chopping it up, you know, when it's all said and done. And you don't meet many that are that cool, is what I'm saying. So hope y'all like that. So stay blessed, be safe.